Good morning. My name is Rob Perkins. I am the District 3 elected official representative on the Community Action Advisory Board and chair of the board for this year. Welcome to the meeting. I thought we could do a round of introductions. Abby, you're pretty good at keeping track of who's spoken. Could you go down the list and ask folks to introduce themselves, who you are, who the position you hold on the board, and yeah, you know the drill.
All right, so I'll just start with the elected officials. Is Diana here?
Yes, hello, Diana Perez here, City Councilor for the City of Vancouver.
Thanks, Diana. Sandra Zavala Ortega. I see Sandra online. She might have stepped away for a second. We can mark her as present. Rob Perkins.
Here.
Great. Katie Favela.
Good morning, Katie Favela, City Council, City of Richfield, and representative of District 5.
Thanks, Katie. I don't see Grondelyn, and I don't see Emily Wilson either. Clover Spears.
Good morning, I'm Clover Spears. I believe I represent District 3. I think that's right.
That's correct.
All right, thanks.
I don't see Megan Mulsoff. Faye is excused. I don't see Amy Rourke either. She told me she was going to be here, but maybe she's running a little bit late. I don't. Oh, Lily is excused. Nikia Hunter. I also don't see. Melanie is excused, and Brittany is excused. So.
Do we have a quorum?
I don't think we have a quorum. We would need at least 7 members to have a quorum. We only have 5 online right now, and nobody is in the room. So Rob, do we want to just wait to approve the minutes until the next meeting?
Yes, let's defer that to the next meeting. The other items on there are all information, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So let's receive the reports that are and the presentations. There is an equity training debrief down there at 10:30, which we were planning for this meeting after coming out of the equity training. It says information. It should probably say discussion or something. Do you think we have the people in the room to hold that discussion, or do we need more?
It's just an informal conversation. We weren't planning to have any action items there, so I'll leave that up to you, Rob, if you want to keep it on this meeting or postpone that to the next meeting when we have more attendees.
Let's see if we get more attendees as the hour goes on. And make a decision to defer at that point. Having said that, the next item on the agenda is the 211 Info Information Specialist presentation. Is Kara Kangas here?
Kangas, yes. Hello. Hi,
Nice to
thank
meet you.
you. Yeah, nice to meet you as well. And hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Kara Kangas. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Partnerships with 211 Info. I've been with the agency just over 10 years this last February in a variety of different positions. And so currently I help onboard new programs, bring in new funding opportunities, and work closely with the Washington 211 system as well, too. And so today I'm hoping to talk about how the funding we receive from Clark County is used, how services are accessed, the different types of programming that we offer, how many folks are reached across Clark County, Southwest Washington, and Oregon throughout our entire service region, and just answer any questions you might have about 211. Next slide should have my contact information. So if any questions come up, feel free to reach out to me via email or phone. We also have a Southwest Washington Community Engagement Coordinator, Tyler Peterson. He's been in that role, I believe, close to maybe just over 6 years now, either 5 or 6 years. So he does a lot of work out and about in the community, attending meetings, providing 211 info, presentations, tabling at different events like Veteran Stand Downs, Peace and Justice Fair. He connects with local FCRCs across the school districts too, and just gets out the good word about 211. On the next slide, let's see what we've got. So our mission at 211 Info, we are here to empower communities by helping people identify, navigate, and connect with the local resources they need. As an independent or private nonprofit, we have existed first as an information line geared toward landlords since the 1980s in the Portland metro area, and then went through a couple of name changes, but became an official 211 affiliate in 2004. And when we launched in 2004, we covered both Clark and Skamania counties and about a dozen counties in Oregon. And so at that time, we were partnering with the Washington 211 system as well. And then we eventually went on to cover Cowlitz and Wahkiakum counties in Southwest Washington. And then we went statewide in Oregon by 2013. So we worked with a lot of different telephone companies, cell phone companies to have 211 available and at the ready for folks who need access to local community resources. Next slide. So 211, if you didn't know, it is an FCC authorized hotline, similar to other N11 phone numbers. A lot of folks are familiar, of course, with 911 for emergencies, 311 through CRESA, and then 811 call before you dig. And so no matter where you are across the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico, you can dial 211 and be connected to a local hub who, and you'll meet a live person, no robots, who will help connect you to different resources across the community. We list not only nonprofit organizations, but government agencies. We also list libraries, schools, hospital systems, healthcare, any sort of social service organization that you might be looking for. Next slide, please. So why do people use 211 or access 211 info or the Washington 211 system? So it's a free and confidential service. We want to make sure that folks have access to community resources in a one-stop shop. We also work with a lot of CBOs and providers who put together resource guides, and they often want to tap into our own resource database because it's continually updated on a daily basis. It's free for agencies to be listed. We ask that they update their information once a year. And then we have people on our resource team who vet the information, keep it curated and up to date. And then in Tyler's role, he actually helps curate that database as well by collecting that information. Our staff also go through about 60 to 90 days of training. They learn a lot about trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, how to be equity focused, because we're talking to so many people in so many different states, potentially of trauma, or who have barriers historically to accessing resources. And so they're using a lot of active listening skills to repeat back what they're hearing, working with the person at the time of their need, and not just offering them resources. Necessarily all resources are based on location, so where the person's calling from, but not just picking and choosing what they think is best. They want to know what does that caller need in the moment to feel safe and secure. We also have access to 3 different interpreter lines, and then we have about 40% of our staff are bilingual or multilingual. So if staff aren't available to interpret a call for their coworker, we work with 3 different interpreter lines with access to over 240 languages. And then staff live all throughout Oregon and Southwest Washington. So folks not only live and work in their communities, they're very much embedded within resource hubs and systems, and know, if someone needed directions to a place, we'd be able to get that to them because folks are super familiar with the regions. Next slide, please. So how to contact 211. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 6 in Southwest Washington. Folks can dial 211 from their phone, or they can dial toll free. They can also text their zip code to 898-211, and that's a nationally known 6-digit texting code as well. Not every 211 affiliate may have texting available, but in our region, you'll get a note that we're open 9 to 5 for texting, along with email. Texting, we like to respond within just a couple of minutes. Email response, we aim to answer all emails within 24 hours. And then we also have our search tool on our website at 211info.org as well. And then we have a mobile app that's available on iPhone and Android stores. And texting and email are available both in English and Spanish. We recently, I think it was about 4 years ago, we were offering 24/7 services in Washington, but we adjusted our hours back to 8 to 6 to match the other Washington 211 hubs. And then in Oregon, due to budget constraints and funding cuts, we're actually having to reduce our 24/7 hours for the state of Oregon after Friday. So we're going back to 8 to 6 starting Monday for the entire service region. Email will still be available, texting available as well. And then we work with the state of Oregon too, where if they need to activate us during emergencies, we operate for extended hours as well, depending on the event and the location. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned a little bit about our resource database and some of the other programming we offer. We have our contact center, so that's where everyone starts. If they're calling, texting, emailing, they'll get that live person to talk to about community resources. And then that resource database is populated and updated daily, and we work with a lot of agency partners to make sure their information is up to date. And then we invite folks too, if they're on our website using the database search tool, if they find information that needs to be updated or maybe it's incorrect or out of date, there's information for providers on how to update their record. So they can reach out to us via email or phone. We'll give them login information to log into our web portal where they can actually review the information and make updates as needed. And then that's vetted by live staff. And then I've mentioned a bit about community engagement. So Tyler Peterson in that role, we actually have a team of 8 community engagement coordinators who are across Oregon, and then Tyler in Southwest Washington. And so this funding goes a lot into his position. And so making sure that folks know about 211, hear presentations like these. The CECs also offer side-by-side or virtual trainings on how to navigate our website, sitting with resource providers on how to update their resource records, and then just collecting a lot of information from communities so we can populate our database. And then we also have data and reporting, which I'll show in a few moments. So on our website, you can actually look at live information on our data dashboard about who's contacting us, what are the top requested needs, what are met needs where a service was offered or provided, and then unmet needs where maybe a service wasn't available or maybe the person had already accessed that service, and then some basic demographic information that we ask all of our callers. We also show on our website. And then we can put together very detailed reports for funders, for elected officials, for anyone else looking for that streamlined data to either match up with the work they're engaged in, or if they're looking for more information of maybe they're applying for funding and need data about, let's say I had someone a couple of years ago, they were looking to be affiliated with the National Diaper Bank Service in North Clark County, and they wanted information from 211 about how many folks in Clark County and from which zip codes are requesting diapers. So that way they could tailor their funding request around, this is the real need that is recorded by 211 info for this service. Next slide, please. So some of our specialty programs are because of partnerships with state agencies across Oregon and Washington. And while the programs that are affiliated with Oregon agencies or Oregon government, we make sure that we have the identical services available for our Southwest Washington communities that we serve, because we want to ensure that no matter where you are and you're calling 211, that if you're looking for food access or food advocacy, maternal and child health services, that you're going to get that same information no matter where you live, so across our service region. So with childcare referrals, that partnership is in Oregon. We are going to connect people to childcare resources in Washington as well. And then SNAP Access and Food Advocacy. We partner with Greater Columbia 211 and People for People out of Yakima. And we help people access basic food applications if they need to recertify or apply for the first time. And then Tyler also gets marketing materials from DSHS out into the community as well. So if folks have questions about how to access the basic food benefit, you can call 211 for that information. Maternal and child health, that focuses on anything from birth to parenting resources, to diapers, to furniture, also sexual and reproductive health as well for both people who identify as male, female, non-binary, any sort of resources they might need. We have a fostered resource parent support program in Oregon that's 24/7. And there are similar services in Washington as well too, that we can connect foster resource parents to if their case manager isn't available. We've also partnered with a lot of counties around housing and shelter over the years. We did partner with Council of the Homeless for several years to answer their after hours calls during severe winter weather season from November 1st through March 31st. And so that was a partnership that started, I want to say back in 2017 or 2018, working with Kate Budd when she was the executive director at Council for the Homeless. And then that partnership actually merged into, she's in Lane County now, works for Lane County Housing. And so now we have a contract with them for coordinated entry. And that's been going on for, I want to say 2 years. So I just love how so much in this role, there's so much crossover and I get to meet a lot of people. And then no matter where we start, they tend to follow or come back into contact with 211 so we can get folks connected to programs. We also have housing and shelter contracts in Multnomah County, and then always want to make sure we have the most up-to-date information with those housing and shelter providers across our service region. Disaster services, this has really kicked off in the last couple of years where the state of Oregon can say, hey, we have this well water event going on in Eastern Oregon, or maybe there's something like, I know there was a fire over off of Old Highway 14 a couple of days ago. So in cases like that, if an entity wants to work with us to answer frequently asked questions from the community to help alleviate calls to 911, we're poised to take on that work. And so we can operate for extended hours, update our website, our social media, and answer those FAQs from the community. We also focus on public health too. So if folks have questions about pesticide exposure, potable drinking water, if there are severe weather alerts, burn bans in effect, air quality advisories, you can contact 211 for that information. And then our coordination center. So this has been in partnership with several healthcare organizations for the last couple of years, originally funded by Kaiser Permanente, and now there are a couple of Oregon coordinated care organizations, or CCO, who manage Medicaid, who help fund the coordination center, where it's this 211 sort of plus program where when you call 211, it's anonymous and confidential. Coordination center, it's now a first name basis, and we can submit referrals on behalf of the clients who call and then record outcomes on what happens if that person wasn't able to access the resource, or if they did, and what the outcomes of those programs were. And then that program has launched into the 1115 waiver in Oregon. We're doing a lot of work with health-related social needs, or HRSN. So for people on Medicaid who are at 30% AMI, seeking assistance with housing, nutrition, and climate support devices. We've been working on that program for just about a year now, and it has been a program that has kind of rocked our agency. So been very busy, but it's been very good for visibility across the community. Next slide. So I mentioned about our resource database. We do list over 2,500 agencies across our 40 county service region. We aim to update all of those at least once a year. And then we ask folks, anytime they want to update, they are more than welcome to do so of their own accord. They don't have to wait for that annual email to do that. Next slide. So outreach and engagement, we have folks who live and work across the state. I mentioned our community engagement coordinators, Tyler being one of them. So they do a lot of targeted outreach too, and they want to make sure that all communities have equitable access to 211 and to community resources, and making sure that we are meeting them where they are. So if folks engage maybe through radio or through print or through bulletin boards at their grocery store or the library or within schools, we want to make sure that we are showing up at the locations people congregate and getting them connected to resources, building those relationships and potential partnerships as well. Next slide. So I mentioned a little bit about data and reporting. And so if you go to our website at 211info.org, there is a link to our data at the top right-hand corner of the page. This is where you can look at those top requested needs and unmet needs that I mentioned, the demographic information. It is confidential and anonymous information. We can narrow down to zip code though. So if folks were interested or are interested in information based on zip code, we can bring that data together for them. Next slide. This is a snippet of the top 5 needs from 2024. So housing pre-pandemic accounted for about 1/3 of our contact volume. So folks contacting us via phone, text, email, searching our website database or on our mobile app. It now accounts for about half. And that has been the case for the last 2 years. So folks are looking for affordable housing resources, help paying for rent and mortgages, moving costs. They're also looking for information on landlord-tenant law, tenant readiness programs like Rentwell. And then folks are also wanting to help keep the lights on, keep the heat on. So they're calling us about utility assistance, and then food and meals, healthcare services. And then individual family and community support would be your safety net programs such as TANF, WIC, childcare, clothing, back to school services, summer meal programs, anything that's going to support individuals and families. And then on our last slide, please feel free. There's a QR code for you to scan if you have any feedback for us as an agency for my presentation today. We're also on social media at 211info, and feel free to follow us and check out our posts as well. And that's everything.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Hi, Rob. This is Diana Perez. I have a clarifying question.
Yes.
You were talking about you were doing some work with Council for the Homeless and answering calls after hours. Are you still doing that?
No, we haven't had that contract in about 3 years.
Okay. And then how do you manage the difference of laws between Washington State and Oregon State?
So we, if someone is seeking legal advice, we will point them in the direction to the municipalities' services that exist in their region. So if they're needing information on landlord-tenant law, that would be a Washington State resource, versus if they're in Oregon. And if there's a local office or a state office, we'll direct them to that. And so we're very clear in our role as information and referral specialists that we're here to provide information about services, the referral to that service, and then folks can decide if they want to access that service on their own. But we're hoping that we're giving the tools and advocacy to empower them to make the best decision for their household.
All right, thank you.
You talked
Yeah.
about, oh, sorry, Diana. I had a question. You talked about data services.
Mm-hmm.
Abby,
Yeah.
could you go back to the slide that had that information on it? There it is. This is
Mhm.
public data dashboard. Is that publicly available data? Is it public
It
data?
is, yes. Yes, it is. So if you visit our website, 211info.org, there's a link at the top of the page that says Our Data, and you can narrow down over the last 13 months. June's data will probably populate within the next couple of days or so, but right now the data that is live is June 2024 through, oh, actually June 2025 is up. You can narrow down to Clark County, or if you want to look at Southwest Washington, and you can look at how many folks contacted us by phone call, website and mobile app search, texting, and email. You can also look at community needs. So what are people calling 211 and requesting? And then the demographic information. So when folks call us, we ask about 15 to 20 optional demographic questions. The only real piece of information that we need is a location. So even if they don't know their zip code, maybe someone's experiencing homelessness, but they're in Vancouver, we might ask for cross streets or general information about where they are, so we're not leading them, to a place that isn't fully accessible. But when folks provide us that zip code and then answer those demographic questions, it can really help narrow down resources. So maybe it's a person who identifies as a veteran, or they're an unpaid caregiver, or they are experiencing homelessness. We want to make sure that the information we're provided is tailored to how they identify, and then what is the most pressing need at the time of that phone call or any contact.
Okay. Yeah. Are the tables available?
Yes. So toward the bottom of the Tableau platform there is a link where you can download an image, PDF, or PowerPoint. You can also share the tables or the current view or original view via link, email, or on social media. And if there are specialized reports that the board is interested in, we can definitely put those together.
Okay. Just kind of exploring the shape of it. I have it on one of my screens.
Sure,
here.
yeah. And I can,
and-
if you're on the data dashboard and you're under the link for, or the tab for community needs, when it talks about categories, those are identified as what are called problem needs. So there's an agency called Inform USA. We are accredited as a 211, and so we're held to certain standards on how to deliver service. A lot of our staff are certified. They have Inform USA certification, either as a community resource specialist, so they're working on the phones, or maybe as a database curator. That's a certification I've held for about 9 years. I've also held the previous one too as a community resource specialist. And so Inform USA has these 15 different categories of problem needs. So housing being the largest will have different types of services within that category. So if you were to click on housing and then you kept keep only, I believe it might not here, let's see. It would only populate the service needs under that housing category. So like rent, payment assistance, community shelter, coordinated entry, tenant rights information. The same would go if you were looking at like food resources too. And if it's not populating and you're looking for something specific, feel free to drop me a line and I can always pull a report.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The under 19 group is so large.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions for Kara? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the outcomes report. Abby?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Sarah.
Thank you, Kara, for being here and for
Yep.
providing such a great presentation.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Bye.
All right, so here is the outcomes report for July 1st, 2024 through March 30th, 2025. This is quarters 1, 2, and 3 of fiscal year 2025. I sent out copies over email, and I have some copies in the room if anyone wants a physical copy. I think you've all seen this report a lot of times at this point. But I'll just do a recap for those who haven't. So you can see in orange each community action program and homeless crisis response system program, as well as a brief description of the program and the annual report period. The green section shows some of the outcomes, not all, but just 3 for each program that we collect. The annual proposed goal for those outcomes, the achieved to date, and the percent achieved. You'll see at this point we're 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year, so most programs will be around 75% achieved, though most will be a bit higher or lower depending on where they're at. Then in blue, you see the annual contract amount, the total spent to date, the remaining balance, and the percent spent. This is all as of March 31st, 2025. So again, most programs will be around 75% spent out, but some might be higher or lower, just depending on the cadence of their spend. A few things to know about community action programs for this report. Most of these are fully spent out, but those with remaining funds are expected to fully spend out by the end of the fiscal year. And the Lordsham Food Assistance Program is working on a new method to assess youth for food insecurities. You'll see they're quite underachieved right now. That's just because their method of tracking this is, needs to be updated to be more accurate. All right, and then where's my mouse? Sorry, I cannot do this on the big screen. There we go. Okay. Scrolling down to the homeless crisis response system. As usual, these are organized by service type. We have system coordination and data collection, core support services, outreach services, and shelter services on this page. On the next page, we have continuing shelter services, then it goes into rent assistance prevention. Those are all the EPROP programs. Then it goes into rent assistance, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, and permanent supported housing. A couple things to note about the homeless crisis response system activities. Clark County staff are currently working with PICO Washington and Nyack Family Center to reevaluate how they collect data and report outcomes. So the outcomes that you see here might not be 100% accurate just based on their reporting techniques, but staff are working with them on that. And then detailed descriptions of each funding type can be found at this link here on our website. You also all have this document, this HCRS definitions document, which we received with the today. Then scrolling down to demographics and some other charts. So when looking at participant satisfaction of the programs listed above, there were 3,665 surveys sent out between July 1st, 2024 and March 31st, 2025. These received 890 responses for a 24.3% response rate. And of those, 93.3% indicated a positive overall experience. When looking at community engagement, the programs had a total of 1,427 volunteers in this time frame. The total number of volunteer hours was 23,584. Of these, 3,812 were by low-income volunteers, and this has a total value of almost $600,000 in volunteer hours. When looking at grievances of the programs that report a grievance, there were 125 grievances received. Of these, 106 were resolved at the end of this reporting period. And this comes to 42% of programs with a grievance. This is pretty normal, again, for these types of programs. And county staff are keeping track of any grievances that pose red flags. Scrolling down to demographics, we have the same charts that we've had before: age, gender, education level, race, and these other characteristics. Per a request from our last meeting, I added to the race chart these bars in blue, which show the distribution of the Clark County population by race, so that we can compare the demographics that our programs are serving against the total Clark County population. So you'll see that under our programs, we're actually serving a higher percentage of the Black and African American community, the American Indian and Alaska Native community, and the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community than is representative of the total Clark County population. The communities that are being potentially underserved are the Asian community, and there's a lower percentage of the white community that's being served than the total percentage of the Clark County population. But that makes sense based on general income levels.
Abby, this is Diana Price. Is there a reason
Yeah.
the Hispanic or Latino data is not shown?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
Is there a reason the Hispanic or Latino data, or is that in a different graph?
So that is not something that was pulled from the HMIS report. I can look into that and see why that data isn't being pulled on this report and try to get it on the next.
Just as a comment, I've seen reports, I know all the school district reports have race categories. Those are the 5 federal race categories. And then Hispanic Latino is a flag, yes or no.
Yeah, that would be ethnicity data rather than race data.
Right.
So it's possible that it's being reported in a separate category in HMIS and just isn't being pulled for this specific race report, but I will find that data and make sure that it's added to the next CAP report.
Very good. Could we come to page 3 of the report?
Page 3. Yeah.
And the second line, the outsiders in report has a total contract amount of 0 with spending.
Oh, yes, that is because this, I think that just copied over weird, because you can see that their total spent to date is close to 250,000. So I
Right.
think my auto formulas must have gotten shifted, or like the chart that this pulls from, maybe a line got shifted down or something. So I will fix that and send out a correct version when I send the outcomes report. Thanks for
Okay.
pointing
Yeah,
that out, Rob.
I'd understood that Outsiders In had a contract this year.
Yes, they
So
do.
wanted to make sure that it was accurate on the report. Any other questions for Abby about the community action, about the outcomes report? Good. Hearing none. If Samantha is here, Samantha Whitley of Vancouver, we can move on to the affordable housing and homelessness update.
I don't see Samantha yet, just because we're moving a bit quicker in the schedule than anticipated. So
Right.
I'm gonna have to come in at 10:10. We can come back to her. I also see, it looks like Amy and Rondalyn have both joined, so we should have a quorum now, Rob, if we want to go back to the minutes and approve those.
Good. Let's take up the approval of the May and June 2025 minutes. I want to open a space for a couple of minutes for people to review them, since there is time, and then we'll need a motion to approve the minutes. Let's take 3 minutes, 5 minutes to go over the minutes, and then we'll move from there. So 9:46, I'll ask for a motion.
This is Diana. I have a comment.
Okay.
On section 3, the cap and funding recommendations, we did have a discussion on the scoring and the funding. So I'm not sure how you want to reflect that in the minutes, but having all the funding go to one organization and not being able to spread or move some of the funding to go to projects that had a higher scoring in a different category. But I believe, Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we had that discussion, but it was because somewhere along the process, we didn't identify the ability to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so let me actually grab a copy of the minutes here. Yeah, so it looks like that conversation is reflected on page 2. It talks about the board's discussion about whether the funding can be moved, and that we reviewed the application and that the board would discuss changes to the RFA at a later time.
Yeah, I see that on page 2.
Okay.
And our equity training debrief and next steps is probably the next opportunity to fold that context into things. But we definitely want to revisit this at our next meetings.
Yeah, and we did have a reflection of the RFA at our last meeting when we discussed challenges and ways that could be improved. So that was all documented and will be revisited when we begin the next RFA process. I think that's the time when it will make the most sense to implement these changes that we discussed.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Are there any other comments on the minutes, or Rob, do you want to call for a motion to approve?
Any other comments on the minutes or questions? Well, hearing none, action will require a motion to approve the minutes from Wednesday, July 2nd, and nope, that's our meeting today, for June 4th, 2025, and for May 7th, 2025. One motion is fine.
Motion to approve?
Clover Spears has offered a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Yeah, from June 4th and May 7th. Who seconded? Was it Amy?
Amy.
So Amy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries and the minutes are approved. I don't see Sam here yet, and there's still plenty of time until her scheduled point. Let's move on to the task force updates. Amy, Abby, are there updates for us?
Yes, I'll let Amy give her update first, and then I have a few things to add afterwards.
Amy?
Oh, could you do yours first real quick? I'm on my phone trying to get it. My eyes are out here trying to get this. Could you first have you please real quick? Good.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll start with the Community Needs Assessment Task Force update. The CNA Task Force has met, I think, 3 times now. So far, the task force has reviewed the survey from the most recent CNA and provided feedback on how it can be improved for accessibility and data quality. Those pieces of information are being incorporated into the survey at this time. We've also started reviewing our outreach strategy and putting together a list of partner organizations, events to attend, and community meetings to go to promote awareness of the CNA and help distribute the survey into the community. I'm also planning to attend food bank meeting soon, since they're a key partner in getting that survey distributed to the community, giving them a heads up about when that'll be live, and figuring out a partnership plan with them. The CNA Task Force meets on the 2nd Tuesday of every month. For July, we're canceling the meeting just because so many people are on vacation, but we'll be meeting again in August to continue moving this work forward. And then for legislative advocacy, Amy's going to provide an update, but I just had another piece of advocacy information to share with you all. So WASCAP is convening community action agencies together by region across the state for some coordinated advocacy efforts around protecting federal CSBG funding or community services block grant funding. This is the funding that we use to support our community action programs in Clark County. Clark County is part of this initiative. We're working with Washington Gorge Action Programs in Klickitat County, Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties, Lower Columbia, Cap, and Cowlitz County, and Skamania County for this initiative. But for our region, we're planning to expand advocacy efforts beyond just CSBG to include other major federal social service programs that are being threatened and have high impacts in the community. These include SNAP, LIHEAP, Head Start, Medicaid, and other crucial programs. And in Clark County, since Clark County Community Services is a governmental agency, Council for the Homeless is going to lead this advocacy effort. And I'll update you all as they put together some specific messaging so you can help spread the word and advocate for this important funding.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Remind us who was on the CNA task force with you?
The CNA Task Force, yeah, so of CAB members, it's Amy, Diana, Melanie, and Brittany. But there's also about 10 other community members who are a part of that as well.
Thank you. Ready, Amy?
Yeah. Well, this has been a crazy year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the one that I do know is that the rent stabilization passed, even though it was changed a lot. But so HB 1217, the new statewide cap limit annual rent increase to the lesser of 7%, which that's better than than it was. But yeah. See here. That's the one that I really know. I know that we need to continue to build relationships with our representatives and stuff for this next session because well, if anybody followed along, this session didn't go too well. But I wish, yeah, I don't. That's the one I have right now. Sorry, I'm all.
That's all right.
Yeah, not too many things passed this session that were magnificent. I mean, yeah.
No, I think it was the same overall for a lot of lines of advocacy.
But But I will say that we have now, there is a army of advocates down here now that has been, building the last couple years. And now I think if anything goes, we've got a bunch of people here to be able to use their voice to get things hopefully passed.
Yeah.
So
I could ask either of you about the the budget bill that passed the Senate. Do we have someone who has analyzed that for hits to or benefits to
budget review.
community action? Yeah, the federal budget, the thing they
yeah.
were calling the Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Yeah, I don't have the federal
Yeah,
Washington's, but
that's okay. I'm curious about it, so I'll be watching for an analysis to come through. I'm sure one of the national organizations will send something, at least to Abby, who can forward it to us, right?
Rob, there was an article in the Columbian that came out
Oh,
this
thank you.
morning on how many residents in Clark County would be impacted by Medicaid.
oh
I
yeah,
think it was like
Medicaid and SNAP.
31,000 or so, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the article's in the Columbian.
Okay, I'll look in the Columbian. Anything else to report from either of those groups?
No, but I do have, I can send to Abby and she can forward out to the members on the cab, a place where if your loved one has been detained by ICE or something like that, where you can find your loved one. I have 4 different websites for stuff like that I got from the state level, and she can forward those to people. They're very good resources for people, and that have to deal with immigration.
Yes,
This is
please.
Diana.
Yes.
Yeah, real quickly, there's been an effort to put a resource hub here for us in the Clark County area at the Latino Leadership Northwest website. So if you want to
Okay. Yeah.
also,
Well, I was at a meeting last night, and I think that I had spoke with people from that organization that were that I had passed that on to. Michael Jones was the one that was going to forward it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him, but yeah. But I will forward it to Abby right now, and so she can pass that out.
is that the Latino Leadership Network website?
No, this actually came from the Department of Health, State of
Mhm.
Washington. I'm on a group up there, the Health Equity Zone, and in their newsletter, they had forwarded out information, and there was a section on there, and I have kept that section to pass along to my community members.
Yes. And so, and I would like to add that the Latino Leadership Network website has more local, in addition to state level resources, has some local important information such as policies around immigration, especially at the school districts, right, Rob? Like Evergreen and Vancouver school districts.
Yeah, both districts have at least resolutions and policies on the matter. And both Vancouver and Evergreen are working closely with the city and the police department about supports. We're letting the city lead. And it's resulted in a network of pretty good, really good information for folks who are concerned.
It also includes resources from the Mexican consulate, which I think is very
Oh,
important.
yes.
As well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to forward me any resources that you want me to share with the group, and I can include those in the follow-up email when I send that out.
I just did, and this is the one it has on it. Has Public Health Guide for Immigration Justice, Actions for Health Agencies, and Advance Immigration Justice or Immigrant Justice and Community Safety, How to Find a Loved One After the U.S. Immigration Arrest, Parental Rights Toolkit for Parents Who Have Been Detained, and What Do You Do If You Are Detained, Essential Steps for Parents, and Preventing Family Separation. So, and then another one was an Immigrant Safety Plan Information and Sample Templates for the
Okay.
care of children from LCYC.
Thank you, Amy, for bringing that up. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Amy.
Okay. If there's not, we've got plenty of time in the meeting, in the allotted time. But I noticed that Samantha is here now. And Samantha, if you're ready for the City of Vancouver Affordable Housing and Homelessness Update, we are ready to receive that.
All right, good morning. Thanks for having
morning.
me. Next slide. So I'm going to share some updates on where we're at with rental habitability. We've also made some funding awards since the last time I spoke with you, and also a brief update of where some actions we're taking on our housing action plan with the city. So, next slide. The rental registration has passed council consent. There's lots of discussion and conversation about this. We've heard from a lot of property owners. We have the public hearing that will be July 14th. That will be the final council approval at that date, so to approve the code. And then what that means is if it's approved as it is, we're hoping to then procure an online registration platform, and then registration wouldn't start until hopefully January 2026, as soon as we can get that system up and running and integrated with our other systems. And then habitability inspections will start to be developed during 2026 as properties are getting registered and we're sharing information about registration requirements. Then the inspections will roll out in a couple of years, sometime in 2027. I don't know if there's any questions about this program. It's going to be a big lift. Amy was part of our stakeholders group, so she's very well aware of all the program components. And we have a Be Heard website that also has details, or anybody can reach out to me if there's questions about this, but it is progressing, and we're hopeful that it will be implemented early next year.
You're talking about BeHeardVancouver.org?
That's right, and then it's /rental is specific to the rental registration page.
Thank you. BeHeardVancouver.org.
Okay, and then also last month we were able to use some of our affordable housing fund for temporary shelter, and we had 2 applicants that have previously been receiving funds through the AHF, both SHARE and YWCA. Excellent shelter providers that requested more funding than we had available. So we split the $600,000 that was available between them. They each received $300,000. YWCA's contract starts immediately because their contract was ending at the end of June. SHARE's contract doesn't end, I think, until October. So they'll both have 12-month contracts to continue these services. We expect in 2026 that our AHF funding for shelter will be dedicated towards the bridge shelter. And so we did want to get this funding out into the community before the bridge shelter opens, and just an update on that. It's pretty straightforward. Next slide. I also want to provide an update on the Affordable Housing Fund for production and preservation of units. We allocate approximately $6 million per year starting in 2024. So in 2024, we made some awards and also made some forward commitments. And then in 2025, we opened the applications for a rolling process, and we got a lot of requests. So $29 million. We looked at the projects that came in. Several were in the Heights and were a priority for the city. And so we kind of allocated funding out into the future to help projects go after state funding. But because of this now, we we've kind of allocated out all this funding over the next several years, and we're planning to close applications this summer at the end of this month for construction projects, and then we'll pause until we will go a couple years. We're hoping that state funding comes through and these projects can get underway, or we'll look at allocating any funding that can't move forward. We can open up our applications again at any time through Neighborly. And then for rental assistance and homeownership funding, that's also part of AHF. We are going to, it didn't make sense to have those on a rolling application basis. So we're going to ask any rental assistance or homeownership providers to apply in the fall, and we will give them calendar year contracts January through December. That is the planning for this funding. Okay. Another source of funding that the city had was through the ARPA Act, and they dedicated $25 million for the Fourth Plain area, including $9.5 million for housing. A lot of that is dedicated to multifamily housing and acquisition, but $500,000 was recommended just to direct towards homeownership. And so that came to my team, and we allocated the funding. Well, we're proposing to allocate the funding, $200,000 to our 2 homeownership nonprofits, land trusts, and then $100,000 to our rehab program, which we run in-house. And we had quite a long list on our wait list for people who have submitted applications, and we haven't had funding to support all of the need for homeowner rehab in our city. So dedicated $100,000 for homeowners that are already applied to the program that are in the Fourth Plain strategy area. So this will go to City Council later this month, but we expect that this will be approved, and we'll get this funding out the door to help the Fourth Plain area with homeownership. Next slide. Lastly is our housing action plan. You are probably well aware that there's been a huge slowdown in construction, both because of uncertainty, tariffs, costs have gone up, interest rates have gone up. And so we've been doing so many housing actions, and we still need to do more. And so we've looked at how we can further incentivize housing development. We've looked at changing the timing for when SDCs and impact fees are due. Instead of having them due right up front when you get your permits, we thought it would be easier for developers to pay them later on in the development, or at occupancy when they're about to start collecting rents. They'll have a little bit more cash flow. We've also changed the fee in lieu for MFTE. Well, I think these are projects that I'm not working on directly, and they're all in different stages of council approval. So those are moving forward. The MFTE program for market rate housing requests a fee in lieu for affordability, and that was supposed to be before they started construction. We're planning to push that back to after they start renting, so that they have, like I said, the income to pay the city fees. And then removing parking minimums has already passed. This was something that was planned as part of our comprehensive plan, and we just wanted to put it through early to help ease anything we can do right now to help ease development costs, and try to spur any help that we can on the housing front. Right now, it's not looking very good in the development world. So on that down note, I think that's the end of my presentation. Happy to take any questions. All right.
Any questions for Samantha?
Thank you, Samantha. This is Diana. On the bridge shelter funding, that is a one-time funding for startup, right? It's not like every year it's going to take up all our affordable housing fund.
My understanding is that finance has identified the $1 million a year from the AHF through the end of the levy towards the bridge shelter. And I'm wrong about that. That'd be great.
Okay, so $1 million. So what does that impact? How does that impact the ecosystem of organizations that have been looking at us for support? You know,
Yeah,
is that like
well,
a 50% decrease?
I'm not sure what their total budgets are, but I know it will have a large impact, especially since we weren't able to fully fund their requests this year, and we have been funding them for several years. So both SHARE and YWCA, I'm not sure what their backup plans are or what other funding might be identified, but I think it'll be a very large impact to those agencies.
Yeah. So it's, I guess for CAB, you know, to really think about this, because then what that means is there's an impact on our CAB funds as well. And so the funding world is getting tighter and tighter. That's my main comment here for all of us.
I will speak on behalf of Share. In that sense, is definitely a struggle, and it's definitely something our leadership team and that we're actively working on and trying to come up with the best viable solution. And I will say, it was something that we've been talking about for a while. There's always been conversations and anticipations of some type of cuts coming along. So I do feel good that I know our team has been working really diligently to, you know, be more strategic and intentional, and being more creative on connecting with community partners and other resources to help offset certain costs. I think in particular for the what, we're really grateful for our partnership with the church and how much they have been able to step in and help us out quite a bit. And so definitely not easy. It would be me being lighthearted in that sense, but I will say we're doing our very best to make the best out of what we are able to have.
As are we all. That's the case for me too. Other questions, comments? None. Thank you, Samantha.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate you showing up and giving the report. The next item on the agenda, I think we have enough people here, Abby, to go ahead and conduct the equity training debrief and next steps. And this is, Diana, this for me was a moment where we could talk about the inequities that we saw in the grant scoring and the process around that a little bit, but mostly this is about how do we move forward and who wants to be involved in task force and so forth. Abby, why don't I ask you to lead off?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Sam, for being here and for providing that update. All right, so the final meeting of our year-long equity training was the first week of June. Thank you to everyone who attended. So I just wanted to open up conversation while we're all together for an overall debrief. This is really your space to talk about your main takeaways from the equity training and how we want to proceed moving forward. During that last meeting, there were some suggestions by CAB members about how to continue implementing this work. One idea was to have another task force, which is designated for continuing these conversations and strategizing how to implement equity into continued CAB meetings and CAB work. Another idea is to have designated meeting time for ongoing conversations. There was a question about if that designated time could be closed to the public. And I've been looking into open public meeting laws, and I don't think that that will be a possibility during regular CAB meetings to have specific time that's closed to the public. The rules are really strict around executive sessions, and you're really only allowed to have executive sessions for super specific purposes, and just general private conversation is one of those. So I think if we want to have designated meeting time to continue these types of conversations, it will have to be part of the public meeting. So that is the information I have for you all. I'm happy to ask additional guiding questions if you want. But let me just start by passing it back to you all, to those who attended the equity trainings, for some main takeaways that you want to share with the group.
One of the main takeaways for me, this is Rob, maybe I'll turn my camera on. One of the main takeaways for me was how much of this equity training was not at all about the buzzwords or the criticisms or reacting and responding, assigning labels or anything that close, but rather a real attempt to establish relationships based on everyone in the group working towards a safe place to have some difficult conversations and to talk about things like I think it was restorative practices. I have to look back in the minutes for the actual terms that we used, but I always came away from those meetings feeling a greater connection to the people who were there because of the way that Ma Caroline led and presented the data and the concepts. It made me thoughtful. And as to the second question, how can the CAB continue to implement this work moving forward? I saw that and sensed some kind of structural or procedural inequities that emerged during our grant approval process that I think over the next 3 years we can discuss and identify using those relationships that we built. And to that end, and to the things that Abby was saying about open public records law, I think a task force consisting of less than a quorum would let us meet without violating any open public law. And then that group could report out to the CAB at a future meeting. I definitely think we should have some public meeting style discussions centered around equity, specifically in an effort to define equity sort of away from the popular pros and cons to our definition of equity and what that means for our work. I think that's the very next step so that we understand the term and we're using our definition rather than any that are imposed upon us from others. I think we have the right group to create something really charitable for people. So those were my initial takeaways.
Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate you highlighting the relationship building nature of the equity training. That is one of my main takeaways as well. I felt like I really got to know a lot of you better on a personal level, which I think just makes our work a lot easier and more meaningful once we have those personal connections. So, you know, even just some time at the beginning of meetings for an icebreaker, some type of get to know you activity, I think could be really beneficial for this group if people are interested in that. Does anyone else have any other thoughts that they want to share?
Icebreakers are amazing. They do help.
So I guess this would be a good opportunity, if possible, to talk about because there were members of CAB who didn't want to or couldn't attend these meetings. They were perceived as extra, given I guess when we all signed up, it was meeting every other month in public, possibly some task forces and stuff, and that there was a little bit of resistance. And I'd like folks to talk about what kept them away.
Mine was Wednesdays are usually full for me. And I've been on the cab since 2019, so I had already established my Wednesdays as in. So when it came back, and it was every other month that we didn't have a cab meeting, so that was one of mine. And yeah.
So scheduling was difficult. See if I can find.
Rob, this is Diana.
Hi.
Diana, City of Vancouver. I just wanted to go back and just share some takeaways. I think uh, the fact that CAB had an equity training series uh, is great. And I think at the end, it was really the outcome that we wanted. And I think there were different wants of the outcome. So the takeaway is that we're all in a very different place of understanding equity. And the outcome was that we all wanted was to be at a similar place together, right? But I think the next big step is, is this part of the DNA of the CAB now, where if you are going to be a CAB member, just expect to become knowledgeable about that and to practice it. So that practicing piece into the CAB processes and work and such, I think is the next step. How do you take everything that folks learned and apply it into practice? And so that's that next step.
I was trying to pull up the minutes
don't-
from that meeting because one of the
Yeah.
most impressive. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you, Diana. Apologize.
Oh, that's okay, Rob. I just wanted to share that I'm not sure a special task force is the answer, but that's just my initial reaction, and would love to continue the conversation.
What form do you think it could take?
I just heard. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You asking me, Rob, or
Yes.
I don't know. All I know is, the key takeaway and what the next step is. And so that's like let's take what we learned and put it into practice. And
I wonder if I could ask what the words special task force mean to you, and sort of why would it, I guess, why would it not? And I'm not asking because I'm resisting the idea. It's that I have the same unknowns here.
I heard something last night, and I guess it was a quote from Barack Obama.
Okay.
Now, this is great, though. I've always lived by the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. But it's not that. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Is that weird? I mean, that sets in like, does it set to you like it said to me? Like, that's amazing. But
Yeah, it's kind of a platinum rule that way. I'm taking notes as we go. Just those are my pauses here. The minutes contain a link to a community commitments document that was built out during the training. And I wonder, Abby, if that could be put on the screen.
Yes, let me pull that. Sorry, one moment.
And what I'm talking about, folks, here is that in the June 4th minutes, on the first page, there's a link to our community commitments. Which I think is I think it's the most meaningful artifact that came out of this training. was us talking about what safety and accountability and trust and transparency, validation, joy, respect mean.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's a pretty long document and I believe it's been sent out to you all, but I'm happy to send it again when I send the follow-up email. Just so y'all have it at the top of your inbox. There's also an Equity Resources Google Drive. If folks haven't had the chance to look at this yet, there's some cool resources in here. All of the PowerPoints that we did, and some links and community commitments. If you want to look at these in more detail, I'm happy to send that as well in the follow-up email. But yeah, one of the activities we did is just talk through what all these words mean to us and to the CAB: safety, accountability, trust, transparency, affirmation, validation, joy, respect. So is there anything specific that you wanted to highlight from this, Rob?
Only that I think maybe we don't call it a task force, but I would like to continue the work with this document as a basis. And just I guess keeping in mind the things that the CAB will do over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And I'm happy to be a part of that work group, even if we don't call it a task force, just to see if we can work together as we're receiving these reports and kind of be attuned to the sorts of questions that will drive the kind of equity we're looking for in this work. We come to these meetings and sometimes the reports are there. They're given by very sincere people and very dedicated people, but they don't know the questions in our heads and ways to present those questions so that I guess our work is amplified. I know I'm speaking very generally, but that's kind of why I felt the need, Diana, for a work group or a task force, was to hone in that feeling and really put it into practice the way you said.
Yeah, one. Go ahead.
This is Brundlin. I just wanted to, I think, and this is just me thinking outside of the box for today, but would it be possible for us to continue these type of trainings more so as a team building component, or like us developing ourselves as a committee, or I'm sorry, yeah, as a board, and using that, because I would assume that those are not meetings, those are trainings, and they wouldn't be necessarily privy to like public consumption in that sense. Is that possible?
No, all trainings would be public meetings, just like ours.
Oh, trainings.
Yeah,
too?
whenever. Although,
Yeah, so
yeah, our trainings
any-
were recorded, right?
So they weren't recorded, but any meeting of the CAB that has a majority of CAB members, a quorum, is technically open to the public. So the way that we did it for the equity trainings was that they were posted online so folks knew that they were happening. And the link was posted, so the public was, you know, able to attend if they wanted to, and we took minutes, which were posted. We just didn't record the meetings because recording isn't strictly required by Open Public Meeting Act laws. It's just encouraged, but minutes and you know, notifying the public about the meeting is required.
Okay.
But on that note, we could do something similar if we want to continue having CAB team building opportunities outside of regular meetings. We could, you know, convene the CAB, notify the public it's happening, and take minutes, but not necessarily record the whole meeting if folks would be more comfortable with that.
I personally, I think that would be a viable option, but I do think it's necessary and important that we continue to do it, because again, whether it's equity training or training in reference to any aspect, harm reduction, or all the aspects that, that we see or hear or learn about. Those trainings aren't like a one and done. It's an ongoing thing that should be consistently invested in and developed. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that some folks highlighted the additional time of these trainings as a barrier to attendance. If we continue to have just general team building meetings on, the first Wednesday of each even numbered month, and we don't have regular CAP meetings, is that something that people would be interested or able to attend? Or is there another time that works better? What will work best for folks?
Abby, I've been in meetings where a workshop type model was on the agenda after the closure of all of the other official business. And in those situations, the official business portion, if you will, was recorded, but the workshop was not. For example, in school board meetings, work sessions are not required to have an audio recording. An audio recording is required for meetings where action is taken or final action is taken. So what I'm thinking about is if we were to schedule a work session before or after our official meeting, probably after, because we start at 9, we could convene that way and just not be creating a recording.
Yeah, I think that would work. I need to double check, just to make sure that that is allowable, but I think that should be fine as long as that portion is still technically open to the public and we're taking minutes. I think we could just end the recording, and let people know that they can stay if they want to.
Right. And I can talk with you about the form that takes afterwards, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure, what funding around this looks like right now. It might be difficult to access funding for a paid facilitator. But would, CAB members want to lead that? Or yeah, what kind of structure do you all see this taking?
I think we should, this is Diana. I think we can start by self-facilitating. It's a good start,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
for folks who were part of the training series to be able to lead out and help and assist. It'd be good to just also, be very clear on the purpose and what we're trying to accomplish or, what outcome we're working towards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so if we add time at the end of each meetings, I know these meetings are already long. How much additional time do you all think that we should schedule for this? And, oh gosh, what was another question?
Does it have to be on
Just would
Wednesdays?
that work for people's schedules? Yeah.
Abby, I think we could be intentional about starting to do that kind of thing with our January training meetings. So one work session would be about building our own community within the 12 or 15 of us, 5 times 3. Yeah, 15 of us. I wonder what the willingness would be is like on a Saturday or in an evening sometime in January, meeting at a common place and holding this in person, this work session in person as much as possible. I know there has to be an online component for the general meeting, but work sessions seem to carry a different set of rules. I'll talk with you about that. But if we could do that I think it would be, I think it would enhance the effectiveness of it.
I
Where,
agree.
yeah. Who said I agree?
Somebody else did it. I agreed too. Amy did, and somebody did right before
Rondell
me.
here, I agree. And I think like just being able to schedule it out in advance and having it like locked in on the calendar will help everyone. So
And the thing I'm thinking about isn't, well, what I'd like to do is I guess rather than a task force, maybe a work group of those willing to be facilitators, we could meet over the next few months to plan this out. See if we can, let's see if we can focus the information that we've gotten and I guess develop ourselves into facilitators or better facilitators. I know I don't have any experience personally, but I do have a lot of interest in outcomes from this. So I'm going to volunteer myself for such a work group.
Rob, I won't leave you out there. I have quite a bit of experience with facilitation and
thank
training
you.
and all those good things. So I would be happy to help and be a part of that work group with you.
I would too. I'm Clover. I
Okay,
do that
so
for my job, so I can help with that too.
Clover and Brondolyn and Amy too.
Yep.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I think this sounds like a great plan. So yeah, maybe before we officially schedule full CAB team building workshops, I'll reach out to those who volunteered as facilitators of the work group, and we can schedule some meetings together just to kind of brainstorm really what we want this to look like so that we can be really intentional about it before we
Oh, that is a
jump
cool
in.
monitor.
Does that sound good?
Beg pardon, Brondolyn?
Yes, that's perfect.
Thank you for stepping up.
Wonderful. Well, I think this sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, I also have some connections with folks in the Southwest Washington Equity Coalition. Well, I could talk to one or two of them and see if they were willing to help us. See if that would come as a kind of monetary bargain, or if it really aligns with the interests of those interest groups to be a part of something like this. I don't know how many of us know Clarissa Hightower and the groups that she leads, but that's what I'm thinking about. Just approaching them. So I'll do that. And then we just need to, the 4 or 5 of us, schedule some time over the next months to bring some focus.
Rob, would you be able to send us like an email and then I can just drop a doodle poll for us to select some times?
Brilliant. Actually,
Yeah,
I could rely on Abby for that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am happy to send out an email and a doodle poll to you all, and I can get this all coordinated.
Thank you, Abby.
No problem.
Wonderful. Okay. I think it'd be a good idea to send out, again, the document, the community commitments document, and the link to the resources Google Drive. And the 5 of us, the 6 of us, how many of us are there? We got Amy,
I think there
Bronwyn.
were 4 who volunteered so far, but since not everyone's at this meeting, when I send the follow-up email, I'll update folks on what we talked about and see if anyone else wants to join the work group who wasn't here.
Right.
Can I just throw a thought out? This is Diana Perez.
Of course.
In terms of applicability of the knowledge being gained from the equity training series, I go back, as this is just as an example, the document you were showing, Abby, that had the pie charts and the graphs and the data. And I think it would behoove us to really take a look at that type of report and identify what is it that what's the outcome that we're wanting? Is it, is it to have a demographic percentage less than a certain number? Is it, to be in parity? Is it, and I'm just using that as an example. When you give out those datas and the reports, it's like, okay, and what's the meaning behind that information in that data, and tying that back to the whole purpose and outcome that we want in terms of equity in our processes. So that's just an example where I'm coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great place where we can apply these skills and concepts.
And the application process as well. I
Yeah,
think one of the other
absolutely.
things that we discussed was, taking a look at the application that Southwest Community Foundation has through their social justice funds. There's some really good questions that we could adopt in our application process to really set this regional movement on, hey, this is important to us, and it needs to be important to your organization as well.
Yeah, definitely. Luckily, we have 3 years before the next RFA, so hopefully in those next 3 years, we can really take some intentional time and figure out how to make that RFA process more, accessible and appropriate for our community. Lights just went off in here.
Okay, so I think we've got a way forward. Hello.
That's fine.
Okay, so it sounds like we've
Um,
got a way forward, and the action items are links to go out, an invitation to the work group. Rondalyn will send out a doodle poll for available times to those who've expressed some interest, and then we'll go forward from there.
Just to clarify, Abby will actually be sending it out.
Abby will send out the doodle poll.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And hearing no other comments, we'll close this part of the meeting and move to the next agenda item, which is open public forum. Any member of the public attending has an opportunity to speak to the CAB for up to 3 minutes. And so I'll open this part of the meeting by asking, are there any members of the public who wish to speak to the board?
I don't see any members of the public on the call except for, it looks like Sam Willie's still on.
Okay, then pro forma, I'll just ask, are there any members of the public at this time who want to speak to the board? And hearing none, this closes the open public forum meeting, or a portion of the meeting. We'll move to the next agenda item, which is other business. Are there items of business that any member of the CAB would like to be placed on the next agendas?
I just want to remind you all that we do have an open position on the CAB for a District 4 elected official. So far, I've only received 1 application, and the deadline is next Friday. So please help spread the word about that. I sent an email to you all with all the details there. If you have any recommendations, anyone you want to work with on this board, feel free to send that application detail to them.
So as the elected official, my question really is that as I looked at District 4 last time, it appeared to reach into the battleground city limits and over into Camas a little bit. So the question kind of becomes whether someone on the city council or the school boards of those regions whose boundaries intersect with District 4 could represent District 4 on the CAB.
Yeah, so anyone who is elected through public election by District 4 residents is eligible. So if they're partially representing District 4 and also partially other districts, that's fine. Or if they're elected by the entire county, they would also be eligible to represent District 4 on the CAB.
Elected.
So is that me, Abby? This is Diana Perez. City of
Diana,
Vancouver.
you are a District 1 representative. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so because you're City of Vancouver.
Okay.
Is there any part of City of Vancouver that intersects with District 4? I suppose
I
we could
think
just look at the
Diana
map.
would have to be the District 1 representative because that's like a special appointed position by the city.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is whether another member of the Vancouver City Council, if those boundaries intersect with District 4, could be serving on the CAB.
Not sure if Vancouver.
And by extension, Battleground and
But I reached out directly to the list that I have of elected officials who could represent District 4, which includes school boards, city councilors, in that area, and some other commissions. So I'll send a reminder email to those folks, but if you all have any direct connections, would love your help spreading the word.
So ideally, it would be an elected official from Camas.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anyone in that area. I can pull up my list to remind myself of who I reached out to specifically. Sorry, I have so many windows open right now. Yeah, so let's see. I reached out to Camas City Council, Camas School District, Evergreen School District, Washougal City Council, Washougal School District, and Mount Pleasant School District. And then also a few like fire districts, port districts, and cemetery districts in that area.
Were you saying something, Rob?
I'm looking at the map for District 4
Oh, okay.
and seeing like the Port District of Camas Washougal is in District 4. Actually, the Port District of Vancouver is also intersects with District 4. So those port commissioners could be approached. And I'm looking at the, see if I can find the school district's boundaries. Yeah, Hawkinson, Evergreen, there's a sliver of Battleground. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be those who are elected by majority District 4,
Yeah.
rather than just a sliver, who more directly serve other districts. But yeah, keep brainstorming. If you have anyone to reach out to, that would be awesome. Is there any other business? that folks want to discuss?
I think what I'm kind of saying here is, you can approach. Trying to find this school district. You can approach Hawkinson.
Okay,
Yeah. Truth is, it's only like a sliver of battleground in the south corner that I think actually matches. So I think you're right about that.
yeah, I think Hawkinson's more District 5.
Oh no, Hawkinson is almost entirely in District 4. As I'm looking at the map here, is there a way for me to share my screen?
Sure, yeah, I can stop sharing.
So here's what I see. This is an overlap of county council districts. Like the boundary better. So 4 is over here. Can everybody see that? And then the school district boundaries are in orange here as I'm flashing them on and off. And I see Hawkinson well within District 4.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I'll add them to my list.
And then these colored regions, here's the port districts. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, here's the port districts. Schools. So anything within the Camas Port District, Camas Washougal Port Districts 1, 2, and 3, Vancouver Port Districts 1 and 3. Look about right. That's what I see, at the very least.
Great. Well, thank you, Rob. Should we move forward with the agenda?
Okay, any other business? Hearing none, we'll adjourn at 10:49 a.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
I'll stick around and share with you what I meant once you stop the recording.
Wait, I don't have to stick around, right? I can go?
No, no.
Okay, bye.